Good morning. Good morning. Give me just a moment while I hit live in all the places. Make sure I've got everything set up. All right, and one more. Let me pull this up on my phone. So as you get here, make sure that you say good morning, say hello, let me know that you're here. All right. One more thing. All right. So I don't know how it is in your world or in your part of the world, but we've been having some warmer than normal temperatures. Like I said yesterday when I went walking, it felt like springtime, and it does today as well. And there's this dense fog because I even took a few pictures. I tried to get a picture of the moon, but the fog was so dense I couldn't get a picture of it. And then so I took a picture of the trees and how the fog was, but I haven't looked at the pictures, so I don't know if it actually shows as well as I would hope it would, but it's beautiful. It makes me think of some of those movies, that somebody will be sitting um, on a bench somewhere and there's this fog moving in, and but it's beautiful. I love it, especially since I'm not driving in it, right? Ah, so as let me make sure where we are on everything here. So I'm going to go ahead and get right to it because I have a client to get to, and I want to make sure that I can talk about all this. Hold on a second. Because today it's all about surrender. And one of the reasons I will share before I get started is, we sometimes we have all these ideas of how we want things to go, and we think, well, I've got to, and we make a list. I've got to go do this and this and this and this to make this happen, right? And yesterday, for those that were here and or watched the replay yesterday, I was meeting one of the people from one of my groups, or one of the groups that I'm part of. And we were going to meet in person because we discovered just recently that we live not too far from one another. And we decided to get together to maybe for not just to meet, plus maybe we could collaborate and do something together because we're on similar paths, just going on with the different tools, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway. And so none of the things that have happened could have ever been designed. We couldn't have said, so let me back up. So one of the things that happened was, for one thing, we've been part of this group for a while. And actually, when I was in San Diego, she was there because she works with the TED Talk stuff. And I saw her go out on the stage and talk, but I never met her while I was there. There was a lot of people there, right? And she didn't come to the mastermind. So I didn't get to meet her, and I've seen her on the videos, the different meetings that we've been on Zoom. But then one day, Stacy mentioned that we lived in the Atlanta area. We were both in Georgia, and come to find out, we were only 30 minutes, well, really more 20 minutes apart. And so we decided to meet up yesterday. So now I couldn't have designed that meeting of being in this same group, having missed in San Diego, all that stuff. I couldn't have designed that, right? It would be beyond my control. And so the thing is, so we go to I said, where she lived, there was a coffee shop not too far from there that I love going to, and I haven't been in a while. So I said, why don't we meet there? So we did. And they have this beautiful patio area, and it was a gorgeous day. So we, like I said, it felt like spring. So we were sitting outside on the patio, and while we're sitting there and we're talking and we're saying, what each of us do, and maybe we can do some kind of collaboration together. And we're just talking about it, right? Just talking about it. And then a man walks out of this building, and he's got this huge tub on his shoulder, and it's got mushrooms, different kinds of mushrooms in there. And they're gorgeous. I mean, beautiful mushrooms. And so Allison says something to him about his mushrooms, and he walks over to us and he starts talking to us. And we have this conversation with him. Come to find out, he and his mother own this Italian restaurant we were behind it. And so we had this great conversation just talking about his mushrooms, the fact that he was Jewish. We talked about, so many things. Now, we could not have planned having him walk out the door and be there, right? And then not only that, he had a gluten-free menu that we were both interested in. And the things he was talking about and the creations in the kitchen that he created, it was like, we're going to have to go there. And I'm going to have to check in with her, because she even said that if it all worked out, she was going to go to dinner there last night. So anyway, we couldn't have planned all that, right? So I asked if he has a card. He gives us a card. And he said that if we had digestive issues or limitations in food, that we could actually call ahead and say, hey, this is what I'm working with, create something for me. And he would do that. So we got his card. And after he left, then we're talking about, where are we going to put this event? Where are we going to do this? And as we're sitting there, and so Allison says, well, maybe we should do the thing and get up and walk around and look. And I said, wait a minute, we just met Greg. There looks like there's an upstairs. I don't know. Why don't we check and see if Greg can accommodate us? So we walk around to where his restaurant is. It's not open, but the door's unlocked. We walk in and he comes out, and we have an amazing conversation with him. So now we have the exact location. He has a beautiful area that, because he's only open for dinner. So he has this beautiful area that he lets people do events and things in there. And so, none of that could have been planned ahead of time. It was like synchronicity after synchronicity after synchronicity, right? And so that's what I mean about surrender. When you can just say, okay, I want to do this thing. Show me how it's going to work, right? And because a lot of times we get so inundated with making it happen. We plan this thing. So let's go back. So if she and I had, before we even met, what if I sat there and said, okay, I want to have an event in person with someone. I want someone. And I started scouting out, trying to find someone. It could have taken me a very, very long time to even find someone in my area that had a similar type of interest that we could do something, right? But when I knew, and she actually in her heart knew that she wanted to collaborate with someone, and all it took was someone to connect us. But we didn't plan that, right? And then all the things that transpired after that, we didn't plan any of those either. And so when we were talking about doing our event, we just made a list of some of the things that we needed to do, which we, create the Eventbrite and reach out to people, send some emails and that kind of stuff, right? But I even told her, and she works similarly. I said, let's just see who shows up, find out what they need, what they want. And then we're both very smart people. We're very capable of what we do. And in that moment, we can pull out whatever tools we need to help with that transformation. And so we're just going to flow and surrender to how everything is going to come. We're not going to go in with this litany of things that need to be accomplished, because we don't know what needs to be accomplished. We not kind of know what our expertises are and how we can help. But what do we help with? Oh, I can't wait to find out. But we've already got it scheduled for January. And so the ball is rolling. But the thing that I'm really wanting you to understand is we could not have planned that at all. We could not have synchronicity been, we could not synchronicity, but we could not have planned for, let's go sit out on the patio and then somebody's going to come out that door and we're going to talk to them and that's where we're going to do it. We couldn't have planned that. No way, right? So our affirmation is, I surrender to the journey, trusting that the path will unfold perfectly. And I release all expectations and embrace the flow of life with ease and trust. Now, doesn't that feel so much more calm and open, right? So we all have done that before, where we had an idea of something we wanted to do, and then we just had list and we went and ticked off the list and did the thing to get that to happen, right? Sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. But the thing is even when it didn't flow in the same way that if you had just surrendered. One of my favorite books, I love Michael Singer's books, is The Surrender Experiment. And in there, he talks a lot about surrender. Go figure, right? It's in the title. The thing is that when I look back at things that have been just seemed magical in my life, it all came from just not knowing and being okay with that. So maybe you can look back at times in your life and see that magical things have happened when you just allowed things to take place as they should, right? And we create things that we think we want to do. We create the list of the things that we want to do. But when we actually surrender to it, it's like we've got this, we're in a, let's say we're in a maze, right? And when you're in a maze, you can only see what's on the sides of you and what's in the front of you and what's behind you. You cannot see anything outside of that space that you're in, right? Because they're usually kind of tight. And you go around the corner, it's a dead end. You have to go back, you go around over here, that's a dead end. You have to keep doing it over and over and over to figure out where to go. But now, if you were one of the people that was standing on a ledge or whatever, a hill, and looking down at the maze, it's simple. You can see that when you go in and you go around this way and you do this and you do this, you can see the exact path to take, right? Well, what we're doing is we're in the maze and we're surrendering to however it's supposed to turn out. So if we hit one of those dead end places, it's like something saying, okay, let's correct here a little bit. Maybe my thought pattern's off some. Maybe this is not the right path at all. Or one of my, I don't listen to country music very often, but I used to. And one of my favorite songs was by Garth Brooks. And it was Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. And so there's sometimes that we're longing for something. Let this work out. This is going to be amazing. Let this relationship work out. Let this business work out. Let this event work out. And we're just, oh. But when it doesn't, and we're moved to a different space, it's like, wow, I'm so glad that didn't work out because this one is magical, right? Because like in the song, he has a love interest that he's praying to God, for everything to work out exactly, for them to be together forever. And then it doesn't. But then later on, he meets the most amazing person and says in the song, thank God for unanswered prayers because I would have missed out on this magical person right here if that had worked out as I ask, right? So sometimes when we're asking for things to be a certain way, it's because, man, oh man, you can see that that path is not the right one. That's the dead end. That's the one that's going to turn out to be a drudgery. Maybe that's the path that's going to end up to being this grind of constantly pressuring yourself to do something. Whereas if you surrender and you go on over here, oh, then it's all inspiration, which feels totally different. When you're in an inspired space, time stands still. It's like you can just flow and be, and you can accomplish so much in a little bit of time that if you had been stressing and pushing and pulling and creating with the pressure, it would have taken you so much longer to create, and you wouldn't have been as happy with the results or the process, right? So where in your life, right? Maybe you haven't been surrendering to the journey and trusting. So today is your wake-up call. If that is you and you've been pushing and pulling and begging and bleeding and doing all the things without allowing yourself to just breathe and let inspiration lead you. Now, that doesn't mean like, there are some people that are in the space of a law of attraction, and they almost feel like they can sit in their living room, watch TV, snack, and just surrender in that way, and that things are going to miraculously, somebody's going to knock on the door and say, hey, you won the lottery. The thing is that when you surrender and you allow, it's not that you sit there and you do zero things. It's that as you sit there and you get into this space of allowing and surrender, that an epiphany, an idea will come to you. And you think, oh, let me call that person. Let me do this. Let me go there. And maybe you end up picking up a book and reading a book, and it's the most brilliant thing, because there are so many, well, almost every single book that I have that I've picked up and read a second time, it seems like somebody has put new words in there, because, and I know they didn't, but it's like, I didn't see that last time. That just didn't resonate. And, we talked yesterday about our 2,000 bits of information. That also goes with when you read a book. When you read a book, there'll be certain things that will stand out that you think, oh, that's important. And you highlight it, you take some notes, you do all that stuff. The next time you read it, if you're in a really different place, those highlighted pieces don't really resonate as much with you anymore. It's something else. And it's because you've changed from that time, right? Because the only thing constant in life is change. So we are ever changing. And when you can surrender to that change and know that whatever your goal is in your life, that it's going to come about when you allow and you surrender to the process, not to doing nothing, but you surrender to the process, knowing that the right words, the right events, the right people. Who knew? I met Stacy, a year and a half ago, something like that, that she would connect me with somebody that I am going to do an event with in January. And we just got that connection, right? So you don't know what you don't know. So I hope that makes sense. Let me see what's going on over here real quick. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I didn't put the journal prompt in here. Let me do that. Let me take this word off, so hopefully it'll all display. All right, so our journal prompt: What expect blah, 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 blah. What expectations have you been holding on to that might be weighing you down? What expectations have you been holding on to that might be weighing you down? Good morning, Lynn. Good morning. Great to see you here. Write out how it would feel to release those expectations and trust the journey to unfold in its own perfect way, its own perfect time. And I know some of the goal setting stuff is you set a goal, you set a time limit, you have the task, you do all that, right? And that's all well and good. And that works amazing for some people. For some people, it just gives you anxiety and fear of failure. Some people, like for me, doing that in that strict kind of process, it makes me feel under pressure. And I work well under pressure with certain things, but those kinds of things, it just makes it where I almost take no action because it doesn't feel good, that kind of pressure. Now, if that's not you, more power to you, right? The thing is I would like, even if you were that person that has this goal, sets a deadline, creates task, and does that, just for kicks and giggles, set a goal for this month. Something, I don't know, whatever. And if you have a goal for this month and you haven't reached it, take some time right now to surrender to the process and just spend a couple of days of allowing and breathing in to what you want and that you're surrendering to the process. And just see what unfolds then. You may be so surprised the magical things that will happen and come into your path. Because a lot of times, if we're so structured in how we're going to do something, we're just cut off from any other possibilities showing up. Have you ever talked to someone that they have a really strong opinion about the way something's supposed to be done? And maybe you do it differently, and it seems like it doesn't take you near as long, whatever the thing is, right? And you try to share it with them, and they will not listen because they think what they do is perfect. And it doesn't matter. They're not going to listen. When you're on this journey and you're so structured in what you're doing the same thing. You're not allowing God, the universe, your subconscious mind, your intuition to actually give you information and things to do to create those paths. Those paths you don't even know how it's going to transpire. Like me meeting Allison, being introduced to Allison, meeting her, right? And then the gentleman walking out and talking to us. And then now we've already got an idea of what we're doing. In one sitting, we've got an event place, right? And it didn't happen because we planned every little thing. It just transpired. It just magnetically showed up. And so where in your life are you holding on to how exactly something is supposed to come about that's actually weighing you down, shutting you off from real synchronicities and opportunities that you're going to be just blown away with what shows up when you surrender? So I'm going to go back to the affirmation. I surrender to the journey, trusting that the path will unfold perfectly. Perfectly. I release all expectations and embrace the flow of life with ease and trust. So put that on your index card, the screensaver on your phone, your sticky notes, put it on the piece of paper and stick it to your fridge. Put it somewhere that today you are reminded to surrender to the journey, having trust and ease. Hold on, let's see, what does this say? I have a friend that wants to join us and stand up and stand out. Do you have a link that you can send me for her to do so, or does she need to go to the Facebook page? You can just send her the vickypoole.com, VICKIEPOOLE.com. And then she can come in and make sure she knows to answer the questions, because without answering the questions, they don't get in. And so it doesn't matter who sends them. I want to make sure that they are wanting to be there, right? So yeah, just do that. That's fine. And I can, hold on, I can go over here and I can grab the actual link. Hold on. So you can share this link. Let me grab it. Oh, wait. Okay, there is the link. Oh, I have to share it. So that's the link right there. If you want to take a picture of it and send it to her, or she can just go to vickypoole.com. That's the easiest way to tell someone, just as long as make sure that Vicky and Poole have an E at the end. Because otherwise they won't find it. All right, so back to the affirmation, and thank you, Lynn, for that. And I love having new people popping in and joining us on this journey, because it's amazing. Good morning, Carmen. Good morning. And I know I've got a few other people that are on here watching, and so I would love it if you would say hello. And that way I can come back later and see, yes, they were there, because, it just feels good to know you were here. All right. So the affirmation, where are we on time? Okay. I surrender to the journey. Hold on. What does this say? Yes, I've told her so much about these daily affirmations and you. She's inspired to become part of our community. Thank you, Lynn. I love it. I love it. So our affirmation, I surrender to the journey, trusting that the path will unfold perfectly. I release all expectations and embrace the flow of life with ease and trust. With ease and trust. And just saying that feels good, right? And this is one of my books that I love to read over and over again, The Surrender Experiment. And you can see I've got a little note card in there where I start, and I'll make little notes and highlight things. But like I said, every time I go back and I read it again, there's different parts that mean something to me that I didn't even notice before. It's amazing how this brain of ours works, right? And then our journal prompt. What expectations have you been holding on to that might be weighing you down? And then write about how it would feel to release them and trust the journey to unfold in its own perfect way. So what I always recommend is that you have a notebook or a journal and you put the date, the affirmation, and the journal prompt, write it down, and then set a timer for 10 minutes or more. 5 if you can't get 10, but 10 is just so magical. And just sit, leave your notebook there. You don't have to even be thinking about what's in there. Focus on your breath and just be in total silence. Just allowing that surrender to the silence. So that actually allows your God voice, your intuition, everything to flow in. And then you will actually come up with things that would not have even shown up at all. So there may be some expectation that you're holding on to that's weighing you down that is back here, that you're not even aware it's holding you back. So open up and just allow in the silence Focus on your breath. And when the chatter gets up in your mind, which if you're a busy person and we're as entrepreneurs, that happens a lot, just to quiet the chatter, take a moment to listen to the sounds in your space and just label them. Like, that's the fountain, that's the ceiling fan, that's someone outside. And just label them. And that just brings you into this moment and quiets the chatter, because you can't think two thoughts at the same time. And then as soon as you get it and you realize, oh, it's quiet in here, then focus on your breath and just keep doing that. When your timer goes off, then you pick up your journal, your notebook, your pen, your pencil, and you just start writing whatever shows up. No judgment. Just allow it to flow out. You might even find that there's something, an expectation that you had from when you were a kid that you haven't done, that's weighing you down. Who knows? But get it out, right? Spend the time really, really allowing yourself to get it out and surrender. And then when you get all of that out, then how would it feel to release all of that, all those expectations, all of those thoughts about something that didn't happen the way you wanted it to? How would it feel to release them and to trust that the journey to unfold in its own perfect way? Now, it's not asking you, how are you going to release it? No, it's asking you, how would it feel to release them? And what I would say is, when you can get into that feeling of what it would feel like to release them, the release has begun. Just getting into that feeling. Because from there, there's not a lot I can help you with other than to say that find as many things that feel like that feeling in your day-to-day life. However it felt to do that release, how it would feel to just not have those things sitting on your shoulder, those old expectations that are weighing you down. If suddenly this weight just lifted off, and there you were, and they're gone, how does that feel? And find ways to get that feeling. All right. So I just got a message from my client. She is here. So I have got to go. And you have an amazing day filled with surrender and allowing. And I will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Oh, and by the way, tonight at 7 p.m., I am going to be live in Christine's group, the Menopause Fat Loss with Christine. So I put a link yesterday for you to join her group if you have not, but I will share the recording with you guys later if you're not able to go. And I will see you tomorrow or see you tonight. Mwah.